Hi folks, I just wanted to make a quick video here where there's going to be a few different videos on how to use different tools inside Illustrator. So the purpose of this, I'm not going to give you any set goal. We're not going to be making one thing. I'm going to show you how the tool works. What I'd like you to do with the video is I'd like you to pause it. So learn a tool, pause the video, go try using the tool. Come back to the video, okay? If you're in split screen, however you want to do it. So come back to the video and then learn the next tool, pause the video, go practice with it, so on and so forth. I am going to go quickly, so pause, rewind, rewatch, all of that sort of fun stuff, just to make sure that you understand how the tools work in Illustrator. After I give you some tips and tricks, we are going to be doing these challenges right here. So you may want to open the shape challenge that is located in Google Classroom, have that open, ready to go. You are going to have these as a challenge once we are done, okay? But to learn the tools, I'm going to make a new file. So I'm going to click File, New, and again, I do not care about the size of the document right now, so don't worry about that. We're just going to click Create. And I'm going to be showing you a bunch of tools now. So again, no goal in mind. Here's how the tool works. Pause the video, go practice, come back to the video, so on and so forth. Let's start with the pen tool. The pen tool is the third tool from the top. Okay? It looks like those old school calligraphy pens that you would dunk into a bottle of ink. And if I click that, this is literally your connect the dots shape. So if I click and let go, click and let go, click and let go, click, I'm making the points, and Illustrator is connecting them with a straight line. You can always, with your white arrow tool, select any one of those dots and move them later. So if you found your drawing wasn't really that great, you could actually take your white arrow tool and move them later. Really important, don't click and drag. So if I click, hold my mouse button down and drag up, that makes curves, and we're going to talk about that in a later lesson. So leave that for now. What I want you to do is just make points. I'm just going to delete this by simply taking the pen tool, clicking and letting go, clicking and letting go. You get the idea. Okay. Now notice I came back to the original point to close it. So if I go click and let go, click and let go, click and let go, and come back to my original point, this becomes a closed shape. So now this is something that can be filled, all that sort of fun stuff, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. You can also make open shapes. So an open shape is when obviously you don't go back to the original point. So with my pen tool, I go click and let go, click and let go, click and let go, click and let go, and notice it's wanting to make another point wherever I click. I'm going to press Enter on my keyboard. Notice now that this is an open shape. It doesn't have a line connecting it along the top. I should mention as well, I do have a stroke color. So you might have deselected your shape and say, well, where did it go? It's there. You just didn't have an outline color. So I'll show you what I mean here. If I click this shape and I say no outline color, notice it looks like it disappeared. It is actually there. It's just that you don't have an outline color on it. Okay? So a little tip for you. Now, if I want to close this shape, whoops, I pressed Enter and I didn't want to. How can I fix that? You can select the 2 points. So if I grab this point right here, okay, this top point right here, and I'm going to hold Shift on my keyboard to select the other point. Now these 2 open points are selected, and I can right-click and join them. And there you go. We've just made a closed shape from an open shape. The last thing I'm going to mention about the pen tool. If you take the pen tool and click on an existing anchor, so a dot anchor that's already there, it will get rid of it. So notice here we have to go through this anchor to go up here. If I click here on it, notice it goes away and now it's a straight line to that point instead of coming down here. So if you click on an existing point, it gets rid of it. If, on the other hand, you click with the pen tool on the path, notice my cursor, there's a little plus sign that showed up right underneath it there when I go right on top of the path. If I click and let go, Now I've added another point that I can actually move around with my white arrow tool. So I can add a dot to the path here, here, here. You get the idea. Take my white arrow tool, and I can now move these dots around wherever I want. Okay. With this shape done, I can then give it a fill color. We're all good to go. This is turning black for a reason. It's because in my color it's set to grayscale. It should be RGB. If it's doing that to you, you can leave it for now. We can talk about that after. But for now, we've got our shape. Okay. So at this point, if you want, pause the video, play around with the pen tool, make sure you understand it, and then come on back for the rest of it. And if you're still listening, you're ready to keep going. This next part is going to be pretty quick. We're going to talk about the Ellipse tool, Polygon tool, and Star tool, as well as the rounded rectangle tool. Ellipse and Polygon, or the Ellipse and rectangle tool are pretty simple. If you don't hold shift, okay, you get a rectangle, and if you do hold shift, you get a perfect square. When it comes to the Ellipse tool, we'll come back to the rounded rectangle tool. When it comes to the Ellipse tool, if you don't hold shift, you get an oval. And if you do hold shift, when you drag, you get a perfect circle. So maybe pause right now, try that, try holding shift and making sure that that works. Okay. And if you're still watching, you're ready to move on to we'll go to the rounded rectangle tool. Now what I like about the rounded rectangle tool is I can click and drag, and you'll notice it's exactly that. It has rounded edges, right? It's not as sharp as the rectangle tool. But you'll notice that there's these little blue dots, and these dots are actually on all shapes. That is the roundness of your corner. So notice we have a corner right here, right, with our handle. If I grab that dot and I move it, notice it becomes a perfect square, or I can even round it more. And this is true of all shapes, not just rounded rectangles. So we'll come back to that after. So the rounded rectangle tool is just a rectangle with rounded edges. Pretty simple. The last one is the Polygon tool. Sorry, we're going to do the Polygon tool and the Star tool. The Polygon tool is a sided shape. So if I click and drag, you'll notice that it gave me, what are we looking at here? 6 sides. What if I don't want 6 sides? What if I wanted 3 sides? Or what if I wanted 8 sides? Why is it 6? Well, that's the default. So if you want to change the number of sides, simply one of two things. Click and hold and drag. Okay, and while you're still holding, I'm still holding my button down, you can use the up and down arrow buttons to choose the number of sides for your shape. So if you want a triangle, go down until you see a triangle. If you want to have an octagon, right, go up until you see 8 sides. Okay? The other thing you can do to get the number of sides that you want, instead of clicking and dragging, click and let go. It will ask you, how many sides do you want? Well, I want 8. So I can change it to 8. There it is. And now I can resize it and do whatever I want with it. Right? Remember, holding shift keeps the proportions. Not holding shift changes your proportions. Everything you just did with the Polygon tool is exactly what you can do with the Star tool. The Star tool will make a star shape. Right? You might see this. Remember those gold stars in elementary school? It kind of looks like that, right? But what happens if I don't want 5 sides? Well, you can do one of two things. Remember, you can click and let go, choose the number of sides that you want, right? Maybe you're making like a certificate or something. Or, while you're clicking and dragging, press up and down. Right? Remember what I said about those little rounded corners? There's the dot right there. See, there's our anchor. Right here is that little dot if I move to the inside. And there's another one here. So if I take this dot and drag it up or down, do you see how it rounds the corner, rounds our points, rounds the edges, right? So you got something like SpongeBob SquarePants. You got Patrick here. And if you do that, right, it gets more pointy. But you'll notice there was another one right here. That will round the inner corners for this shape. So each shape has its own corners that it will round. Notice here it will only round the edges. There's no inner edges to round, so it just rounds those points. So something to play around with. So at this point, pause the video, work with pressing and holding on this button right here and grabbing the rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, ellipse, polygon. I'm going to suggest not working with the flare tool right now. It's a bit of a bizarre tool. You can try it. I have yet to see anybody use it in their project. So you may want to just skip that one. But try practicing with these tools and make sure you understand how they work. And if you're still watching, you're ready to move on. Now, with any one of these shapes, just like with the pen tool, you can remove and add points. So let's say I had, if I had a rectangle, right? I can grab my pen tool, and remember those points that were there? Well, we didn't make them, but the computer put them in there for us. So we didn't go click, click, click and make the square. The computer did it for us. So if I go back onto any one of these points, notice it gives me a minus. I can remove points. I can still add points. So even though it's a shape tool, right, you can absolutely add and remove points using the pen tool at any time. Again, if you click on the point, it gets rid of it. If you click on the path, it adds a new point. So that's kind of handy if you want to, you made a shape and you want to tweak it just a little bit. All right. The last two things we're going to talk about first one is alignment and distribution. So if I take this rectangle tool and I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it. So there it is. I've got two of them. Now I want them to be lined up so that their tops match right at the top. There's a couple different ways that you can do that. Number one, you can keep just dragging it and you'll get what are called smart guides. See that purple line that just popped up? It's letting me know that these are aligned in the middle. If I was to make this square a little bit smaller, notice those purple lines will show up to say, hey, they're aligned in the middle, they're aligned to their tops, or they're aligned to the bottoms. Okay? You can also align right, you can align left, you get the idea. You can also select both shapes or more shapes, and over here on the right side you should see align. If you don't, click on the word window and look for align, and you'll get a box that pops up that will give you all these options. Okay, I'm going to close that. I'm going to use the properties, but that's a good one to use as well. So if I wanted to align their tops, I'd select both the shapes, say align their tops. Align their bottoms, bottoms, middle, you get the idea. You can also go left and right by selecting them both, left and right. Yeah. That's alignment. There's another one called distribution. And what that will do is if I have more shapes on the screen, like this, and let's say I want it so that these are evenly spaced. So the amount of space between these two shapes is the exact same as the amount of space between these two shapes. I could, again, just click and drag this, and eventually, if your smart guides are turned on, you'll see these little purple arrows, or it might be a different color for you, shows up to show you have the exact same spacing between. Another option you could do, though, select all of your shapes. You'll notice here under align, there's no option for that. This is just going to line things up. So if I press the three buttons right here, it's called distribution. Distribute objects, meaning I want to distribute the spacing. So if I go to distribute spacing and I say I want to have the same amount of space horizontally, notice now, there you go. There's the exact same amount of space here than there is here. I can do the exact same thing vertically. And what it will do is it'll say, take the space from here, the bottom of this shape, to the top of this shape, or left to right. Okay? and it will make sure it's the exact same. So if I distribute vertically, notice that these are now perfectly spaced. So if I wanted to make something that, if I make this one a little bit smaller, right, I could take these three shapes and I could say select all three. I don't want to align their middles. So now they're perfectly aligned in the middle. And I want to distribute their vertical distance. And now you got something like that's like a chimney effect, or it's kind of a being of a robot, which works well too. So pause the video here, try playing around with align and distribute. Go back, even try the shapes you've been working with. Okay, we've got one last thing that we're going to show you. So when you're ready for that, watch on. Okay, if you're still watching, you're ready for the next step. All right, if I take the ellipse tool and I'm going to draw a circle, I'm going to kind of bring everything together. We're going to make Mickey, like the Mickey Mouse logo. So if probably best if I actually copy and paste the circles. So I'm going to copy, paste this circle. All right, so that'll be Mickey Mouse's ears, let's say, and I'm going to copy and paste, and this is going to be his head. Maybe it's a little bit bigger. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to maybe drag this one on top. I want to make sure that these are aligned, so you could either click and drag this down, or I'm going to select them both and say over here on the right hand side, align their bottoms. So now I know they're perfectly aligned, and I'm just going to move that in. And we've got the Mickey Mouse logo, right? We've got the circle with the two ears. The problem with it is we can see it's overlapping. I want to make this one shape, right? And not group it like we talked about with the arrow tool where they move together. I want to make it look like I drew it so that there's no black line right here. So that's called the Pathfinder. The way you get that is if you select more than one shape, more than one object, in this case, we've got the three circles, and right over here on this side, you'll see Pathfinder. These are my four favorite. There are more if you press the three dots down here. Okay, you got shape modes and Pathfinders. We're going to stick with these four shape modes here. The first one that I like is Unite. It merges the shapes together into one. So watch this. Notice now it looks a lot more like Mickey Mouse, right? So I'm going to undo that, show you exactly what happened. Take all the shapes, click the merge button, and there you go. We've got Mickey Mouse. So you're taking more than one object and merging them into one. It makes it look like you drew it like that. If I wanted to make a moon, right? The moon in the sky, I could make a circle, and I'm going to copy and paste that. Oops. Copy, paste. Okay. And notice the piece in the back here on the right, like where this black line is right in here where my mouse is, kind of looks like a moon shape, but this circle here is in the way. Well, if I select both pieces, and using the Pathfinder, I select exclude, or minus front, my apologies, minus front. It's like a cookie cutter. The circle in front will be cut out of the circle in the back. Look at that. So you can make shapes by cutting one shape out of another one. The last two, I'm going to fly through them. Notice that we have an overlap, right? Right in the middle here, the two shapes overlap each other. If I press this third button, intersect, only show me where they overlap. Right? So that'd be a great way if I want to make an eyeball. So if I took this and rotated it, right? I've got this kind of shape here. Maybe I want to exclude, and then you've got yourself kind of an eyeball, maybe even a lemon, right? Not red, obviously, but you get the idea. So intersect, my apologies, will give you where the two shapes intersect, and the last one is exclude, where don't they intersect. This one I don't find as popular, but I thought I'd show it to you anyways. Okay. So we've got in the Pathfinder, Unite, merge them together. Minus front, cookie cutter. Intersect, show me where they overlap. And exclude, show me where they don't overlap. Now, at this point, I've given you a lot of skills. It's quick. Go back, watch the video again, see, make sure you understand, play with the tools, try and create, give yourself a challenge and try and create a project. When you feel that you're ready, go over to the shape challenge, okay, and try making all of these shapes. The one I'm going to say to skip is this one right here. It uses what's called a corner chamfer, and I find I've never used it and I've never seen anybody needing to use it really. If you feel, I really want to challenge myself, go ahead and look up how to make a corner chamfer in Illustrator, but I would say probably just skip it. So try making the challenges in 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then create this character at the end. Notice the character though is one shape. There shouldn't be overlapping pieces. They should all be one. So think about what we just talked about that might make that happen. If you're lucky enough to finish that by the end of the class, then challenge yourself. Make yourself a little character and get ready for the main project that's going to be coming out soon. Thanks for paying attention and spending some time with me, and good luck with the shapes.